classified as a fourth felony offender. Offenses: conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder. Sentencing dates: January 18, 2000, and resentenced on June 28, 2000. Sentenced to a total of 50 years. Parole date: August 1st, 2021. Good time, not eligible. Full term: July 11, 2048. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am, all but the fourth offender. I've only been to trial twice.
Yes, sir. Ms. Jackson.
Right. Good afternoon, Mr. Darrel. My name is Bonnie Jackson. I've been assigned your case this afternoon. I've reviewed your record, and there are some things I'd like to discuss with you. You're 62 years old, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You received a 50-year sentence for attempted murder, first degree, and conspiracy to commit murder. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And of that 50-year sentence, how many years have you served?
23, ma'am.
According to the information that I have on priors, you had an armed robbery, and then you were on escape status, and during that time period, you committed another armed robbery and simple kidnapping, and you also had a theft conviction. So 2 robberies and a simple kidnapping, and then a theft, that would make you a fourth offender.
I was misunderstood. I thought that since it was the same crime spree, it would only count as one. I didn't know.
Well, you had a separate armed robbery and you escaped.
Yes, ma'am.
While you were on escape status, you committed another armed robbery, correct?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's 2.
Yes, ma'am.
2 separate events, 2 separate charges,
Yes, ma'am.
and then somewhere in there you had a theft
Yes, ma'am.
conviction.
Yes, ma'am. It is for my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. I don't want you to be,
No, ma'am.
confused or anything like that. I'd like for you just to briefly tell me what happened in this case that you're serving time for right now.
A lot of stupidity for one.
No, I want facts. I don't want.
I sent 2 people in to rob the guy. They went out of hand and they shot him.
Well, what? Okay. Now, Mr. Darrel.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've read everything.
Yes, ma'am.
They
was making it look like it was about a level thing, but it wasn't. It was about a robbery that went bad.
Well, okay, why would you send someone to rob this gentleman?
Because they was going to rob him for his crack cocaine at the time. And like I said before, at the time.
You're accusing him of being a drug dealer, or?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All I was going in there I admit I was out there. I was wrong for.
No, Mr. Darrel, today is the day of reckoning.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm very sorry.
You're talking too much.
Okay.
You're listening too little, and you're not answering the questions that I'm asking you.
I'm sorry.
The 2 people who went in and shot Mr. Poland multiple times were arrested, were they not?
Yes, ma'am.
And they were prosecuted and convicted as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And they gave statements to the police.
Yes, they did.
And they indicated that you hired them to go and kill this gentleman.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you paid them, or you were to have paid them $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So, they have no motive to say that you hired them to kill this gentleman, because they were going to end up in the same situation regardless, because they're the ones who went into the house and did the shooting.
Yes, ma'am.
And during the commission of this offense, some of the statements that they made to Mr. Pullen clearly indicated to him that you had something to do with him wanting him being killed. Where were you when the actual shooting took place?
About 4 blocks away.
And why were you 4 blocks away?
Because I was walking home. I had dropped them off to do it, and I took off and walked home. I was walking to my house
You dropped him off how?
in his car.
Okay. Who else was present in the home?
At the time, I don't know, I didn't go in it.
Who did you expect to be present in the home?
My ex-wife,
And who else?
and I think my son was in there, but I'm not sure if he was over there or at his mother-in-law's, at his grandmama's.
Were there 2 children in the house, a boy and a girl, both of them 6 years old?
I don't know. I didn't go in the house.
I understand that.
I don't
Did
know.
your, did your ex-wife have a 6-year-old child?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a 6-year-old child?
Yes, ma'am.
And it would not have been unusual for those children to be at your ex-wife's house. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And knowing that, you sent those men into that house to shoot Mr. Poland.
Yes, ma'am.
So in light of all of that, Mr. Darrel, why do you think you should be granted any kind of early release?
Because I'm not the same man that I was then, ma'am. I've changed and grown up a lot.
How so?
I think more now than I did back then. I took anger management and I use it.
Okay, you think this was just a matter of simple anger management?
I believe this had a lot to do with anger that I couldn't control. Didn't know
What
how
were
to.
what were you angry about?
A whole bunch of things at the time.
Like?
Uh,
I'm not gonna let you off the hook if Mr. Darrel, I'll tell you that right now.
yes, ma'am.
So you can
Believe
either,
me, I don't need to be let off the hook. I've deserved everything I get.
what were you angry about?
I was angry at her. I was angry at
Or?
myself because our marriage didn't work. I was angry with the fact that she was going on with her life and I wasn't. I was
Well-
selfish.
Weren't you living with a girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am. But she wasn't my
And
girlfriend.
And you all were actually divorced.
In the process of it, yes, ma'am.
Well, I have information that you were actually divorced and that you were living with your girlfriend.
Ma'am, we had got a separation and we was in the process of the divorce. It was more or less final. Yes, ma'am.
So going back around to while this happened, it had nothing to do with that man being involved in any kind of drug activity. You were angry and jealous because he was in a relationship with your ex-wife.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you tell me that you've changed, but you sat there and you failed to tell the truth. And then you attempted to drag Mr. Poland's name through the mud by accusing him of being involved in some sort of drug activity. How is that any evidence whatsoever, Mr. Darrel, that you've changed in any way?
It's not. And I
Exactly.
apologize for it.
one of the things that struck me is that in some of the documents I read, there was a time that you really weren't visiting your child with your ex-wife because you were having some vehicle trouble.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Mr. Poland actually provided something to help you get your car in order so you could visit your daughter. Did he not? Whoever.
Yes, ma'am.
And in spite of that, you had somebody go in the house, empty 2 guns into him, shoot him in multiple areas of his body. And then today you drag his name through the mud by accusing him of being a drug dealer. Also, when I look at what have you accomplished while you were incarcerated over the last 23 years? What have you accomplished? Tell me some of your accomplishments.
I took anger management, a lot of self-help programs.
Such as, because I'm showing very few programs and poor participation in programs. So you tell me the programs that you actually completed.
A lot of these are religious self-help programs, ma'am.
So besides anger management,
Pre-release,
everything else has been faith-based?
no, ma'am. Pre-release and chair walking.
And what is your job at the prison?
Maintenance.
And what do you maintain?
Right now, I'm installing ceramic tile.
How many write-ups have you had?
I don't really call the number, but the last one I had was about probably 18 months ago.
You had 2 in 2020. So let's talk about what they were.
2.
2
Okay.
on separate dates. So it's not like you got 2 on the same date in 2020. It was 2 separate
Yes, ma'am.
dates in 2020. So do you remember what those were? I'm going through the record, trying to find what page it's on.
I remember the
Right.
last one.
Okay, tell me about the last one.
The last one was I refused to go back on the other side because they had moved me for quarantine and the people over there were still sick. So I told him that I refused to go back over there until it was hell. Until it was well. So he put me in a dungeon, refusing to go back over there.
So was that an aggravated disobedience?
I think so, ma'am. It's either
All
a
right.
3 or a 5. I think it's a 5. I'm not sure.
All right. And what about the other one in 2020?
I don't recall it, but
What I'm looking at,
I don't recall getting 2 in that year. I only got 1
it's
that
a
I know of.
PC.
It's a PC. It ain't a write-up.
Yeah.
What's a PC?
Protective custody.
Let's see. And what was that about?
I felt my life was in danger, so I asked for protection.
Well, are you still in PC?
No, ma'am.
Are you currently taking any kind of programs?
I just finished I just finished pre-release.
Okay. Well, what I'm looking at is that you were dropped from denial management because of absences in 2016. You were dropped from substance abuse education in 16 because of absences. You were dropped from relapse prevention also because of absences. You want to explain that and tell us
Yes,
what
ma'am.
was going on?
Yes, ma'am. I was transferred to another institution.
From where to where?
I believe it was from Cottonport to here.
No, you didn't get here till 20.
No, I came here the first time
Oh.
in 14.
14. That's right.
Can you help us with that?
Yes, ma'am. It looks like he in 2014 he came to DCI and left to go to Allen in 16, in July of 16. So maybe that's in 16. Maybe that's when he got transferred and got dropped from those classes.
Yes, sir.
And I show that in June of 21, you refused education. What was that about?
They said that due to the water damage, they couldn't find my GED and they wanted me to take another one so
Mhm.
I could take a trade. I said, I don't need to take another one to take a trade. I already have a trade. I'm a carpenter and I can also a tile setter.
Did you get your GED while incarcerated?
No, ma'am, I got it on the streets.
Okay. What kind of clubs or organizations are you a part of?
Right now, the only thing I'm a part of is Navigators.
And what is that?
You tell Bible stories. You read a Bible story and then you try to memorize it and then you stand up in front of the class and you tell everybody the Bible story to the best of your ability without leaving anything out of it.
Okay. Warren Victim, is there anything? Could you call Warren Falgood to find out if there's
I wasn't gonna say a word, Miss Jackson. Look, the only thing that got me on that, I said he's a deputy warden. I'm a warden. Why I'm getting on?
I'm sorry. But what else can you add to our discussion with Mr. Darrel?
You know, he hadn't been in a whole lot of trouble. He's only been here since 20 on this last run. He doesn't, you know, he had that right up in his history, the PC, some issues. He does work on our maintenance crew, which is helpful on the unit. He's not a trustee, so he has to stay on the ground, you know, on the grounds and work inside our units to help. I do wish that, you know, with his time and his charges, I wish he had maybe just take some more programming. And if y'all don't grant him today, I will absolutely help him get in some more programming on that side of things.
You do know that a lot of the programs, if
I'm-
you're short, you can't get in. Huh?
All right. I
Okay.
know a lot.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
Thank
talking to them.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, Mr. Darrel, you know, that's pretty much all I have. And if my colleagues have anything they'd like to ask, I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Warden Bickham,
Yes, sir.
did DOC ever verify the GED?
Not that's first I heard it when he mentioned that. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they put it in that paperwork that he refused because of it. I can get that checked on. It may not be able before this hearing's over with, but I can have someone check on it.
Okay. I just was wondering.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Darrel,
Yes, sir.
do you have a closing statement?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to make a closing statement?
Please, sir.
Okay, let's have it.
I just wanted to apologize to my victim and to everyone that I hurt in the course of my actions. I'm sorry for what I've done. I'm also sorry for the lie that I told today to Miss Bonnie Jackson, and I hope she will forgive me. That's all, sir.
As Ms. Jackson said, this is a time for reckoning. And you didn't do such a good job.
Sorry. I didn't mean it.
Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson,
Mr. Darrel, I don't know what I expected today, but I didn't expect this. You've shown absolutely no growth or recognition of what you've done. You can't change until you recognize just how much you need to change. And it was just so disappointing that instead of just accepting the facts that are plainly before us in the record, you tried to lie and deceive, and then went so far as to try to, cast Mr. Poland in a bad light when this man did nothing to deserve being shot multiple times. His health has been affected. His life is not the same. It's amazing to me that he survived because the assailants made a specific effort to shoot him in multiple areas of his body and shot him in the head. But he was protected from a higher source, and he didn't get killed. And yet you come in today and you try to say he was somehow the bad guy, and that was very disappointing. It was just very disappointing. And I look at what you've accomplished since you've been there, and I don't see that you've done a whole lot to change the person that you are. You said some words, but the words had no substance to them. You are exactly the man you were when you came into the system 23 years ago. You have not changed, and you've not made any effort to change. And so I cannot in good conscience consider any form of early release. You've got a lot of work to do. And until you recognize that, then, nothing else is going to matter. So today, my vote is to deny for lack of remorse, for lack of acceptance of responsibility, for lack of programming, and strong law enforcement and victim opposition. So my vote today is to deny, Mr. Gerald.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Madam Chairman?
Mr. Gerald, my vote also is to deny, and my reason is because you are not forthcoming. You didn't tell us the truth, period. That's it.
Mr. Gerald, I agree with my colleagues. I echo every word. I wasn't asking the questions, but I could see that you were not being truthful. And this was the day of reckoning, and maybe next time you come in prepared. I vote also to deny your request. You received 3 votes to deny your request. Your request for early release has been denied. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Warden Bickham,
Yes, sir.
this has been one long day.
It has been a run, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we appreciate all your assistance. We could not do this without you. And if I don't see you before, have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, enjoy your holidays.
Yes, sir. Y'all do the same, and y'all go get something to eat now.
Yeah.
We stand adjourned at DCI at 3:54 p.m.
Well, you don't often see worse interviews than that, and in my opinion, that was a Miss Jackson gem. She is so good when she's on point, and you can tell she did her research into this case. She knew everything, and as soon as he starts off by just straight up lying. And it just makes you wonder, all these years locked up, and you're really going to get in front of the board and, like Miss Jackson said, drag your victim through the mud by calling him a dealer? I mean, he really, I don't think he was lying from moment to moment. I don't believe him for a second. He got his GED on the streets. I caught him in other lies with the documents we're about to go through. Thank you, Richard, for pulling it up here. So here's the factual background. So he was convicted, incarcerated in Angola. The record reflects that Washington and 2 co-defendants were charged on August 6, 1998 with conspiracy to commit first degree, which was an absolute, I mean, as Miss Jackson said, there were higher powers looking over after this man because he was shot 10 times. And now Washington, attended by counsel, initially entered a plea of not guilty on September 2nd, 1998. At a hearing held in April 1999, Washington, accompanied by different counsel, withdrew his former plea and entered a plea of guilty. So you can argue that's why he didn't get a life sentence. They took his guilty plea. The minutes in the proceedings reflect the trial court that advised Washington that he would be sentenced to serve 10 years in prison at hard labor without the benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. The trial court deferred sentencing, however, until after taking additional argument and testimony. So he thought he was going to get 10 years. And that's kind of what this appeal is about. And man, I say it is good he did not get 10 years. This man is dangerous. Can you imagine that he said he's divorced. He's living with another woman. He's got a child with, there are 2 children. I think they said 6 years old. He sends 2 people into the home with the children, with his wife there. It's just, how sick can someone be? And this man seems to be a great guy. He helped fix his car so that he can come visit his child. After additional argument, the trial court reiterated its previous announced sentence, and based on counsel's continuous objection, allowed Washington to withdraw the guilty plea and set a matter for trial. Okay, so his counsel rejected. He said he wanted he wanted 10 years, but with benefits. What an idiot. Take the 10 years, man. When the matter was called to trial on May 13, 1999, the state, and he said, let me go to trial. What an idiot. You talk about it's 10 years. You were going to serve 10 years. Now the guy's locked up for basically. Okay, dismiss count 1 bill of information. The state notified the trial court that it had filed a new bill of information charging Washington with 1 count of attempted first degree and 1 count of conspiracy. The record is that proceeding reflected on July 13, 1998, Darrel offered to pay Washington and an accomplice $1,000. Can you imagine $1,000? Even though this is 1998 and $1,000 is worth, I don't know, $5,000. It's like, I never understood these pay for hire things. They always get caught like right away, and it's like, really? So your whole life, you're gonna risk your whole life on for like, you know, what? But it is what it is. To kill Poland because he was dating Darrel's ex-wife. Kill this man because he's dating my ex-wife. Washington accepted the offer and went to Poland's residence with the accomplice. He knocked on the door, and Elaine, his ex-wife, answered. Washington and the accomplice pushed their way past her. The 2 men then shot Poland 10 times before fleeing the house with Darrel, who was waiting outside. So remember how he said, oh, I was like 4 blocks away. Yeah, okay, another lie. On August 23rd, 1999, Washington, accompanied by counsel, and Martin entered a plea of guilty to both counts without a plea agreement, negotiated sentence. Without a plea agreement or negotiated sentence. On November 8, 1999, the trial court sentenced Washington on the attempted charge to serve 40 years in prison at hard labor, the first 20 years to be served without the benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. He must have been like, what? Upon his release, he would be placed on probation for 5 years. On a conspiracy, the trial sentenced Washington to serve a concurrent of 20 years at hard labor. Now, this is not, where's our, over the last 20 years, October 30th, Washington submitted application for post-conviction relief. I'm a little confused. Oh, I see where I screwed up. Because this is his co-defendant. Okay. So this is his co-defendant, what his plea is. My bad, I'm sorry. But anyways, we got the gist of what happened in the crime and what he did. I'm not sure how I messed this up though. I thought that we were talking. I thought that it was the records. I guess he just took a plea deal. I'm not sure. The record reflects the Washington 2 co-defendants were charged. The record proceeding reflects offer to pay. Okay. But that's what it is. 10 shots. He survived it, which is just, I've always blows my mind how someone can, get stabbed, a small stab, cut somewhere, and they're gone, and it's just the luck of where those rounds or where the knife falls, and it's remarkable. But yeah, this guy's, in my opinion, he's just dangerous. I think he's kind of like the epitome of someone who's antisocial, maybe, who just cannot or understand or relate to how other people's feelings or how they're perceived. I mean, the idea that he would do that with his children, it's not clear if the children actually were in the house or if they were at school, but the idea that even at his own hearing, he said maybe they were there, it's just remarkable. You send 2 gunmen into a home to take out your ex-wife's current boyfriend. You currently have your own woman at home. Like, what are you doing, man? And then you show up at the parole hearing and you drag him through the mud, as Miss Jackson said. There are evil does exist, and I think we just saw it. And he comes in saying also, oh, I do a lot of faith-based programs. Yep. Where you read the Bible and then have to recite it back with perfect memorization. It was like this guy's just been doing nothing. He's like, talk about doing time poorly. What can you say? But what is his full term date? His good time date is 2048. Is that right? I think that's what I have here. But man, I'm glad that Miss Jackson or Mother Jackson got to handle this one. It could have easily been a very different kind of hearing. And with that, I'll let you go.
Oh, panel, tell us your name and your DOC number.
My name is Brian Chevalier, 567-622.
All right, so I'll read some identifying information into the record. Then I'm going to ask you to confirm it. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marabella because your case has been assigned to him. Then we'll hear from one of the folks there at Steve Hall about how you're doing in the program. We'll ask your mom for her remarks, and at the end, you'll be allowed to make a statement before we vote. Okay? How did you pronounce your last name?
Or Chevalier.
That's what I thought. So you are Brian Chevalier, DOC number 567622. You're classified as a second felony offender. You were sentenced originally for second-degree battery. You received a 2-year sentence. You were afforded probation. However, that was revoked March the 3rd, 2015. The reason for revocation was a new felony conviction, and that was aggravated battery. for which you were sentenced December 2nd, 2014. You received a 10-year sentence. In possession of methamphetamine, you received a 5-year sentence running consecutively. So that total DOC sentence is 15 years. You have a parole eligibility date, which was February 3rd, 2020. Good time is August 3rd, 2025. Full term is November 4th, 2028. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm gonna give it to Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Chevalier, how are you? My name is Tony Marabella. How are you today?
Doing all right, sir.
I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask you. You're now currently in the Steve Hall program, is that right?
Yes, sir.
My records reflect you've been there since August, is that true?
Yes, sir.
How much longer have you got to go?
Till May 14th, I think.
Okay. And tell me about some of the other programs have you had any other programs since you've been in prison?
I took anger management in Catahoula, and that's about all.
That's about it? What sort of an anger management class did you take there?
I just anger management. That's all I know how to explain it.
All right. Well, let me ask you a few questions. I've looked at the facts of your case. I mean, you're both of your convictions obviously are very violent, involve anger.
Yes.
Tell me what you've learned about your anger and how to control your anger since you've been in prison.
Well, I know. I learned how to control it a little bit.
Well, tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. Just don't really know how to explain it. I just learned how to control it, I guess.
Well, let me tell you what the concern is, okay?
Yes.
Your first charge was a battery where it looks like you got in a fight. You and a couple of people beat up someone pretty badly.
Yes, sir.
And the second offense involved you and your girlfriend, and you did some horrible, horrible things to her.
Yes, sir.
Those are absolutely violent. Why were you so angry with her? Or why do you have so much anger pent up inside you?
I was on a lot of drugs.
Okay, let's talk about your drug use. When did you start using drugs?
At a very early age of 16,
And what kind of drugs were you using then?
meth and pot.
And how long were you using them?
Every day, just about.
Okay. Now, the allegations, the facts to which, you were charged with much more serious charges than what you were actually allowed to plead guilty to involving your girlfriend.
Yes, sir.
Now, those facts are horrible.
Yes, sir.
And they're certainly much more than what someone who's just on drugs would do.
Yes, sir.
There's a saying that, substance abuse is a disease. You're not responsible for your disease, but you certainly are responsible for your behavior.
Yes, sir.
So tell me why I should release you early, realizing what you have done in the past as a result of your drugs and as a result of your anger. What have you learned while you've been in prison that would convince me that you're a good risk to let out so you won't do any of these horrible things again?
Because I lost everything I had, and now I just don't know how to. I can't tell you I was going to change. I'm going to do something. I just don't know how to explain all this. I really think I learned my lesson, but I can sit here and tell you all kinds of things, but I've lost everything I had, and it just really tore me down.
Well, let me ask you this. What prompted you to do what you did to your girlfriend?
I don't know. I was really out there. That's all I can say.
Okay. Now, you're at Steve Hoyle right now. What have you taken so far while you've been there? They have both alcohol, anger, all of those things there. So what have you taken thus far?
This far, I'm just now in the MRT book. Right now, I got living in balance, victim awareness.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about MRT. You've taken MRT. Are you still in MRT right now?
I'm just now on chapter 2, I think. And, I'm giving my testimony right now.
Okay, all right. How has your disciplinary record been since you've been in prison?
I think I have 2 write-ups, and I think it was in 14 and 15 with applications with people.
And you've been in prison now for 7 years?
7 years and a month.
Okay. Have you been able to work while you've been in prison?
Yes, sir.
What kind of work? What kind of work have you done?
I worked in the commissary for 3 years or 2.5. Then I was on maintenance for the rest of the time. From 16 to 2000. I worked on air conditioners. I did electrical work and all that.
Okay. You haven't had a very good history of supervision because you were on probation when you got this offense. And
Yes, sir.
I assume from what you're telling me, a lot of it is all drug related. Is that right?
Pretty much, yes, sir.
Before you got to prison, had you ever had any kind of drug treatment?
I went, but I was court ordered to go, so it was just I went, you know.
All right. That's very honest, and I appreciate your honesty. Where were you court ordered to go? What kind of program were you court ordered to go in?
The one in Columbia. I don't even remember the name of it.
How long was that program? Do you know?
6 months, I think.
Okay, so you actually were inpatient for 6 months?
No, sir. I was doing.
Outpatient?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when was that? What year frame was that? Do you remember?
I think it was 06 or 05.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Have you had any work since you've been at Steve Hoyle involving anger management or any
No.
sort of emotional issues?
They told me that they're gonna put that in my last 3 months.
All right. Okay. Do you believe you have an anger problem?
Yes, sir. If I'm loaded.
Okay. Well, you had a domestic abuse battery arrest back in 2006. Did that involve drugs or alcohol also?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been arrested where it did not involve drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
How much education do you have?
8th grade.
Did you ever try to get your GED?
I did when I was in Catahoula, but right there at 16, they offered me to go to work in this commissary, and they pay you if you work in the commissary. So I went to work to save my people some money.
I got you. Where will you live if you are released early on parole?
With my mother.
Okay, and where's that?
190 Sharptown Loop, Virginia, Louisiana.
And what kind of work might you do, or do you know yet?
I'm hoping to go back in the oil field, but everything in the oil field is shut down right now. And I really don't know right now, Bob. I always go work with my the dude I was sub working with at Catahoula. He does air conditioners and electric wires. Todd, his name. He said he'd give me a job.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your answering my questions. Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chairman.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Mr. Marabella. Ms. Wise?
How you doing, sir? Mr. Bryan?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just want to inform you as a part of this process, we reach out to the law enforcement community where you were sentenced to get their opinion about early release. And and there's some strong opposition. They even let us know that during the conviction, preceding to your conviction, you had to be placed on contempt of court. You was carrying on so.
Yes, ma'am.
You recall that?
Yes, ma'am. I was just about to cry, and I had them chains in my hands, and I was playing with the chains to keep from crying. And then he told me, leave the chains alone. I just let them, I dropped them. And that's how I got to the court.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't get to my document right now, but it made it sound like it was a whole lot more than that. A whole lot more than that. Okay. Well, I just wanted to inform you that the law enforcement community is opposed to your early release. I just wanted to inform you of that. That's all I had, Madam Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. We'd like to hear from the folks there at the Steve Hall program. I don't know who wants to speak, but we'd love to hear from you now.
Hi, Chair. This is Dr. Tucker. We have had Brian in treatment only 1 month now, but during that time, he has gotten no write-ups. He's participated in everything we've asked him to do thus far. He's got a long way to go. He's still got to finish his core curriculum, which is 6 months, and then we will focus on his individual issues those last 3 months, including his anger. That's not to say that we won't deal with that anger throughout those 6 months, but it'll be a primary focus before he goes home. So he's got a little ways to go with us, but he's off to a good start. He's been very respectful. There's been no problems. He's in a 200-man dorm, right? Yes, he's in a 200-man dorm, and I have to tell you, anybody that can stay in there and have impulse control is pretty good because it's a rough place to be. So right at this moment, we're pleased with how he's doing. He does not have any history of mental health that we're concerned about, with the exception of his anger. And we will work with him on that.
Thank you. Well, that's good to hear that he's doing well. Good for you, Brian. Ms. Newman, we'd like to hear from you.
Hey, well, he's been in there for 7 years and he's really done good, I thought, and they work him, and I think all the guards really trusted him and enjoyed him. And, he's a good hard worker, and, a lot of his problems was the drugs, and that, it influenced him a lot. And, of course, he's my kid. He's a great kid. I love him, and I know he's had some problems, and I just, I'm glad he's worked on them and he's working on them, and, he is just a great person, and, just to keep the drug under control, and I would say something about the other people, but, I can't, but he just really, he's got a bad rap. He's doing better, and I think he's done good the time he's been there.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Chevalier, is there something you'd like to say to the parole panel before we vote?
No, ma'am.
Love you, Brian.
Okay. I think that we're ready to vote, Mr. Marabella.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Chevalier, I want to commend you for what you're doing. I think Steve Hoyle is a tremendous program. They've got a lot of good things there that can help you, certainly with the drugs, obviously, that's what it's there for, but also with your anger. I'm a little concerned at this point, perhaps no fault of your own. You may have been at places where you couldn't get various programs. I just believe that you need some more anger management work. And it sounds like from listening to Dr. Tucker, you're going to get that report, that support over there at Steve Hoyle. But I do think there's some anger issues. I think you tried to address them with me, and you were very honest. And I appreciate your honesty in the way you describe things. But as I look back on your record, and I'm sure as you look back on your record, there's a lot of anger there. And if I were to vote today to let you out without seeing how you do in Steve Hall and without seeing how you learn more about your anger, I think I would be doing a disservice to you. It's been said many times by this panel, our job is not just to let you out, but to keep you out. We want to make sure that once you get out, you stay out. You're on the right track. I hope that you complete that Steve Hall program successfully, but today my vote would be to deny. But once you complete that program and you're able to, whenever you're able to reapply again, and if I'm still sitting here and you've done well, then you will get my vote at that point. But that would be my vote today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Ms. Wise.
I concur with my colleague. My vote is denied because of the law enforcement opposition and your poor supervision history. But I just want to encourage you to continue to sit on the front row, pay attention, take care of you. You can make money later on.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, like Miss Marabella says, it's about staying out and not getting out, making sure you have all the tools you need to stay clean and sober. Good luck to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chevalier, I do concur. I think you're in the best place possible for you right now. That's a good program, and I think you're going to get a lot of help, and you're going to get some tools in your toolbox so that when you do get out, you'll be better prepared to cope with society. But my vote today is to deny your parole, again, with the strong recommendation that you do reapply as soon as you're eligible to do so. By then, you will have completed Steve Hall, hopefully had a little more anger management, and you likely would have a different outcome in that time. Good luck to you, sir. Please apply yourself in the program. Take advantage of the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good luck.
Well, that hearing took place in 2020, and we're going to fast forward to 2023, where he does have his second hearing. Now, many of you may have already seen this, and that's because we showed it about 3 months ago. It has 70,000 views, and it's a shocking, scary hearing. But I thought after Richard had pointed out that he had the initial hearing to tie them together, it's worthwhile to replay them as you pick up additional information. I think it was quite interesting how the board picked up, or at least through the information they had, the anger issues that he has. We can also see the different kind of a flow of a hearing when the victim, the survivor, is there to speak up. This is intense, but with that, we'll jump in.
Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you answer her questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chevalier, good morning.
Good morning.
How old are you?
37. 37.
And how long have you actually been incarcerated on this charge?
August the 16th or 17th, make 10 years flat.
You're classified as a second felony offender, Mr. Chevalier. Your prior conviction was also a crime of violence. It was a second-degree battery. And you were on probation for that battery at the time of the offense. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us the circumstances of the second-degree battery.
The first one,
Yeah.
I was just at a party and drinking and things got out of hand.
Well, things got out of hand and explain what you did.
Well, somebody was trying to start a fight, and I said, that ain't the way you start a fight. And I hit old boy, and it just kind of you know, kicked him. You know, I hit him and kicked him, I think. Pretty sure.
Well, you did. You
Yes, ma'am.
punched the victim in the face. He fell on the ground, and both you and your brother kicked the victim in repeatedly, including in his head, and he was finally able to roll under a vehicle to get away from the situation.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The offense that you're in prison for, the aggravated battery and possession of meth, the aggravated battery involved your then girlfriend, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you briefly tell us what you did in that case?
Well, I kind of lost control that night. I don't really remember what all happened.
No.
But I know we got way out of hand. I hit her and cut her hair off, and
What else? You sexually assaulted her.
no, ma'am.
You denied sexually assaulting her with a broken baseball bat.
No, ma'am.
You did deny using your fist to sodomize her.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, what do you say happened?
I was watching I had a little camera system at the house. I got back to the house. She was nowhere to be found. And I was sitting in the recliner watching the camera system I had. And she comes through the front door. I grab her up by the hair of the head, cut her hair off. And actually, when I cut her hair, she threw her hand up and I cut her hand a little bit.
Why would you cut her hair off?
I don't have a clue. I was really messed up on drugs and I was on steroids. It's just a rage, I guess, ma'am.
And what happened after you did that?
We went and got in the truck and rode up the road and came back, and she got out the truck and I left.
Why did you get in the truck to ride up the road?
Because she was out in the woods with somebody. I didn't know who. I thought she might have been. I don't know, to be honest with you.
What happened is she got away from you, ran and hid in the woods until somebody came along and took her to a convenience store where she could call for help. And she was so afraid that even when she got to the convenience store, she locked herself in the bathroom and would not come out until the police convinced her that they were law enforcement. And then she came out and she reported what you had done to her.
That's one story.
That's what the police wrote in the police report, and they were there at the convenience store. They were talked her out of the bathroom.
I do not know what happened after I left the house. I know what happened when I was there, and I don't know nothing about after the fact, ma'am.
I see that you went through Steve Hoyle for substance abuse treatment in 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
Well, I learned a lot of things. I learned about the 27 factors. I learned the anger management, the 4 Qs on anger management. I took the GED program, and with the COVID and everything, I could not complete get my GED there because of COVID.
Well, where are you currently housed?
At Catahoula Corrections.
How long have you been there?
I have did my whole time here except for the 9 months I was at Bossier
And
at the Steve Hoyle program.
did you come back to Catahoula?
Ma'am?
When did you get back from Steve Hoyle?
Like June June 20th something
Of what year, Mr.?
of 21.
They don't have a GED program at Catahoula?
No, ma'am.
They have any programs at Catahoula?
I took everything Miss Stevenson would let me take. I took victim impact, anger management.
Well, tell me about victim impact.
Victim impact showed me a lot of stuff. It showed me about the hurt I showed on both sides of our family, the family of the victim and my family, that should nobody be deserved to get hurt. You know, that it's a lot of more sides to just what's going on in your life. You hurt a lot more people.
And you have not had sex offender treatment, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I have not.
Because your charge isn't listed as a sex offense, but factually it involves sexual assault. Warren, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Chevalier? Is there anyone in the room with you, Mr. Chevalier?
So,
Ma'am,
Anything you can tell us about Mr. Chevalier?
yeah, he's a good old boy. He do what he supposed to do and stuff like that. He don't get in no trouble around here.
All right, thank you.
All right.
That's all I had, Mr. Johnson. All right, thank you. Ms. Faulkner, we'd like to hear from you. Can you lower your camera a little bit?
It was the same with this one. You can hear them.
Trying to find the unmute button.
It looks like a microphone.
It's unmuted.
It's unmuted.
It's unmuted.
You just,
I think, can you hear us? There you go. Go ahead, ma'am. Is there anything you want to say to us? Can you turn your volume up? Yeah, we still can't hear you. There's something.
You can hear it as she's on. Yeah, I said something.
Can you speak louder?
No.
I can hear a little bit. Is there anything covering your microphone?
No. Can you hear me now?
That's better. We can hear you some. Go ahead.
Just go ahead. I'm good. No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chevalier, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we vote? Anything you want to say, Mr. Chevalier?
yes, ma'am. I've been down a long time. I've been in jail more than I have since I turned 18. And my mother, my family, I've got nephews and nieces I don't even know. I'm just, and it's killing me. I wasted so much of my life over one mess up one night. I wish I could take that night back, but I can't. You know. That's all I got to say.
All right. I think we're prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson?
Mrs. Chevalier, this is a very troubling case. You have a history of really extreme violence, starting with your first conviction, where you and your brother kicked that young man repeatedly in the head, and he had to hide under a truck to protect himself. And then what happened to Miss Chevalier, which is really terrible, really terrible. You've done substance abuse treatment, but I really think you need to do sex offender treatment, because there was some terrible things done to Ms. Faulkner of a sexual nature. And I think that until you address those issues, I will not feel comfortable voting in favor of you. So I'm going to deny you, but recommend that you maybe go back to Steve Hoyle for their sex offender treatment program. So my vote today is to deny. Mr. Freeman?
I concur.
My vote is the same. I saw you the last time you came up, and I still have the same concerns. My vote today also is to deny. We will make the recommendation, though, that you be moved somewhere where you can get the sex offender treatment.
I'm gonna deny it.
Good luck to you, sir.
I'm gonna.
What a difference an interviewer makes, right? Miss Jackson is there and she calls out something that was completely neglected in the prior hearing. Remember, he was supposed to get his anger management under control. He never had to take the classes, programs for the offenses that he did against her, that you heard, that were so terrifying, so graphic. Let's just go back there to remind ourselves of what it was that Miss Renatza had even told him he needed to do.
Anything you'd like to say to us before we vote?
I'm sorry about that. I had it on the wrong one. Here we go.
Again, with the strong recommendation that you do reapply as soon as you're eligible to do so. By then you will have completed Steve Hoyle, hopefully had a little more anger management, and you likely would have a different outcome in that time. Good luck to you, sir. Please apply yourself in the program.
Steve Hoyle, you'll have anger management, you're likely to do better. And well, I do love that he then comes back and they're like, maybe go back to Steve Hoyle and take the sex offender program. And because I'm gonna die in prison. You know, you see his anger come out. You see the whole side to him that he was able to hide, right, so well in his first hearing, behind his mask, behind his fake laugh, because he didn't have the survivor sitting there in the room. And it was interesting for me, because I had a memory of her speaking. And then when I saw this hearing again, I realized she didn't speak. And I think that that's interesting, because just her being there, just her being in the room, present as a witness to this, was enough to leave an impression on me where I thought that she had said something. And I think it was enough to enrage him. And, you know, I wish Ms. Renatza maybe would have encouraged her to speak versus just moving on. You could see that she really wanted to, and then she just couldn't do it. But you hear about his crime, and you hear about, you know, the way that he describes it. She came into the house. I pulled her by the ear and ripped her hair off. And then they go into the details, which I just don't even want to bring up again. And it's terrifying. And to think that he will be out soon. What's his good time date? Is it his full is 2028? His good time date is 2024, I think. So I think he has one more year. Maybe it's 2025. I mean, either it's like 1 year, but it's there are some people that interesting to see his mother wasn't there in support on the camera. It's I think this case, it just shows how important it is to the board members who are interviewing that they do their homework, that they read the report, because in their prior report, they didn't go through those details. They didn't even require those programs. It was just about anger management. But I do think it worked out because, he thought he was going to get off scot-free. They said, hey, just do this, complete it, and you'll go home. And then they come back and say, no, you have to do more programs. And good for them on doing that. And that's also, I'll say it again and over and over and over and over. It is so important. I would say it's the duty, it's the responsibility, it's the fiduciary responsibility of the assistant DA to show up, because it will change the outcome, and that will change lives, and that will protect their constituency. And it's so important that they do, and so sadly that it's most often that they don't.
As a second felony offender, office, attempt aggravated rape, sentencing date November 4th, 1998, sentenced to a total of 50 years, parole date August 1st, 2021, good time not eligible, full term August 6th, 2047. Is this information correct, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Panazzo.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Wilson.
Done.
I'm good. How are you today?
Good.
Can you hear me okay? I'm having some technical issues. Want to be sure you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Okay. So, Mr. Wilson, you're 63?
64.
64. And you've been in jail how long?
Since 97.
Well, how many years is that?
That's 23 years.
23 years. Okay. So almost 24 years of a 50-year sentence, and you're classified as a second offender. So you're here today for an attempted aggravated rape. And did you know your victim?
Yeah.
How did you know the victim?
I used to work for the victim.
You used to work for the victim? So tell me what happened.
I was on some drugs and alcohol, and I went to the house to get some money. And I sexually assaulted her.
So why were you going to that house to get money?
I worked for her.
Well, as I mentioned, you're a second offender, and your first offense was in 1979, many years prior, but that was also involved a rape. Correct?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Have you taken sex offender treatment?
No, I have. Over here.
Now you have? I know. When did you complete it?
I've been to complete the class. I'm in one right now. Thank you for making a change for good.
No, I said, when did you complete sex offender treatment? Those classes.
Back in 2004, somewhere in there.
How many phases of that program did you complete?
They got 4 phases.
You finished all 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I see your priors also include, DWI in 1991, and you mentioned you had substance, alcohol, and drug issues. Is that right?
Yeah.
What was your drug of choice?
Alcohol.
No marijuana?
Cocaine, something like that.
What do you mean something like that? Tell me.
Cocaine, marijuana.
How often did you, drink or do the drugs?
5, 6 days a week.
every day. So what have you done to address, since you've been in jail, 25, almost 25 years, what have you done to address your addiction? You think you were addicted to alcohol and drugs?
Well, I took a lot of self-help program classes, and it shows me about me, about the problem I have.
Tell me about those classes. What was the name of the class?
One of them was Caden Raging.
That's an anger management.
Yeah. The other one was making a change for good.
Okay, good. Which classes were specifically geared to substance abuse?
Caden Raging.
That's an anger management class.
Yeah, just substance
right?
abuse.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What did you say?
The anger management, you said substance abuse class.
Any
Right.
AA or NA or any of that?
Oh yeah, I got it here. NA. I spend the ongoing treatment NA.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. I understand. So are you enrolled in anything now?
Yes, ma'am.
You tell me what classes are you taking now?
Making a change for good. And I just finished AVOL.
What was that one?
AVOL.
AVOL. What's that about? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one. Can you tell me?
Victim awareness.
Mr. Wilson.
It's about victim awareness.
Oh, okay. Victim awareness. Okay. What did you learn? What did you learn about the impact you have had on your victim when you took in what you've had so far in the victim awareness?
Learned that abusive behavior. I've learned about how to not to hurt anyone, not to take control of anyone, thoughts of action.
Okay. And so for the attempted aggravated rape, how do you think that affected your victim?
Emotionally, that affect them emotionally and physically. That affect them probably worse, bad.
If you could.
It froze up. Can you repeat that, Ms. Renaza?
Yes, thank you. If you could speak to your victim, what would you say?
I would really apologize to her, tell her how very sorry I really am for causing her the pain and stress in her life.
Yeah, I'm sure that she's still impacted by your actions. Do you believe that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's go back to your programs that you take, and you have a good conduct record. You only have 6 write-ups, and 2 of those are low court write-ups. And your last one was in 2015, and it was low court. So you've got a really good conduct record. I see that you work in the kitchen.
Yes, ma'am.
How long you been in the kitchen?
since 2009.
Long time. What do? You're a cook or a baker or what?
Cook, pot cook.
Okay, good. Are you a deacon in the faith-based community?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you get involved in the faith-based programming?
Well, I was involved in the faith-based program in Angola. And I brought it from Angola to here.
What would be your residence plan, Mr. Wilson? Should you be, if you were successful?
Resident plan is, I have a friend named Innocent Palmer. He would give me a job, and my resident plan would be with Tommy Smith. He would give me a place to stay in Slidell.
You have any family?
Well, I have a daughter. She just recently started emailing me. My youngest daughter.
Well, good. Y'all are starting to build a relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
That's good to hear. What about the I see in the packet I have the Veterans Housing Ministries as a possible
That's
residence plan for you.
yes, ma'am.
You familiar with that? Are you a veteran?
No, ma'am.
No.
Not a veteran. The church came out and affiliated with the church here. So that's how I got to meet him.
Oh, okay. So okay. So you know Miss Lisa Carey?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Why do you think we ought to consider you for early release, considering the nature of your crime?
I can't bring back what I've done, but I'm going forward in my life, and I'm trying to do the right thing, and I'm trying to be a better person. I won't have to be able to hurt anyone, neglect nobody. It's been a rough road. The pain I had was inside of me, caused me to hurt other people. So now that I've come to know these classes show me in what direction to go and how to handle my situation, and choosing the right thing to do and making the right choices in my life.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for talking to me. I'd like to ask Warden Day for his input.
Yes, ma'am. With talking with Lionel and looking through his record, he does only have a few write-ups since he's been incarcerated. And a good thing for him, none of them were sexual in nature. It's frozen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
He did complete the sex offender 4 phases, 2010 through 2012, and also AA and NA, 12-step in 2017. He works here. He does have some affiliation with the ministry here. I think that he has a hard time articulating really what he means sometimes with what he's saying. I do have a little bit of concern with this residence plan, and I wish it were a little bit more solid. But other than that, he is a good offender here at RCC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mrs. Jackson.
All right, Mr. Wilton, I want to ask you a couple of things. You were the yard man the landscaping person for Miss Holloway?
Yeah.
So that's how you knew her. You did work around her house.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I have to say, it's really concerning to me that you have 2 convictions for rape. You know, you had one in 1979. You served your time, you got out, and you went back and you did the same thing, or you attempted to do the same thing. How can I be comfortable knowing that you won't do this again? What would give me confidence that you won't do this again?
Secretary LeBlanc just came and knocked on the door.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Okay. Mr. Wilson, did you hear me? How can I be comfortable given the fact that you had already had a rape before you committed this crime? How can I be comfortable that you won't do this again?
Because of my experience now in the ministry and the love I have for other people now, I will not let anything like that cause me to hurt anybody.
Well, what happens if you get those urges? You know, when you take substance abuse treatment programs, they give you some tools. They teach you what to do when you get those urges. What makes you think you won't get those urges again? And if you do, how would you deal with them?
I would apply I would apply the tools to my situation.
What tools? Tell me what those tools are.
The tools are the words that will help me, enable me to use the tools. The tools is how could I put this? The tools is what I've learned.
Okay, but what have you learned? That's what I'm trying to get. What have you learned that if that urge came up to have sex with somebody that didn't want to have sex with you, what have you learned that would prevent you from giving in to that thought?
The method of the lesson. The method of the lesson.
I know, but what is that method? I know you have trouble expressing yourself, Mr. Wilson. I understand that. But what method did they teach you in sex offender treatment to deal with maybe those urges that might come up in the future? What method did they teach you?
To apply the behavior. To apply the behavior.
What behavior?
The sexual behavior. To apply the principle to the sexual behavior that you want to be able to crave for the for sexual behavior.
Well, you're not telling me what you. Okay, let's say you get out there and you see some woman, and you find that you have this urge that's in you because you've done it twice, so it's got to be in you, and you get this urge that you think you want to have sex with this woman. What are you going to do?
What I want to do.
What methods will you use to prevent yourself from doing what you've done before? What have you learned in your classes that will help you with that?
The steps, the process, the steps that are.
Okay, so what are those steps? What are those processes? I know you're frustrated. Just think about it.
Well, Mr. Wilson, I see you're struggling, and I don't want to, have you keep struggling, but those were the questions, and that's still my concern, that you don't have the tools, or you don't understand the tools well enough to even tell me what you would do if that urge came up. And that concerns me. But thank you for talking with me, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Wilson, would you like to make a closing statement?
Yes, sir. I'm very sorry for the pain and the suffering I caused everybody. Due to my past experience in life, now that I've been incarcerated, I've learned to evaluate my situation, to apply what I've learned. I've learned some things that I just can't. Anger is a secondary emotion. So in order for me to know about anger, I have to identify with that anger, and then I could apply what I've learned, which is the solution to the problem that I'm dealing with, and able me to help myself not to make a bad decision, but to make the right decision and to go on in life and live. I just need an opportunity, man, to just to be there, because my daughter, she goes through a lot of pain right now because I'm not there, and I just want the opportunity just to be with her, to help her along the way. I just ask for opportunity, man, to be back in society, and I appreciate this opportunity here to this board that I didn't have opportunity. I just thank y'all for the opportunity for the component board. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Is the panel ready to vote? Ms. Renata?
You're muted.
You muted.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you said, Mr. Wilson. And I understand that you have a hard time expressing yourself, but we get that often. So I think we heard what you meant. I have some real concerns about you, sir. You don't have a solid transition plan. I don't see any support here for you. You're not able to give us confidence in what you learned in the sex offender treatment program on how you would deal with when you're faced with another similar situation. My vote today is going to be to deny you parole based on the lack of a transition plan, and with encouragement to if Warden Day can help you, to repeat the sex offender treatment class, and maybe take a Thinking for Change class, and then reapply when eligible. In the meantime, be working on a real solid transition plan about where you're going to live. You're going to have challenges about where you can live and where you can't live. And maybe you just weren't prepared today because you didn't realize that you were going to be able to come up for parole, but you got some more work to do, sir. That's my vote.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mrs. Jackson.
All right, Mr. Wilson, I feel the same way as Ms. Renata. I'm just not comfortable that you have the tools you need to get out. It bothers me that you can't tell me anything that you can apply from your sex offender treatment. And so I would like to see you complete that program, as well as Thinking for Change. And also, I agree with Ms. Renata. You say you've got a friend that you can live with, but friends aren't the same as family. And friends can get tired of you and want to put you out, more so than a family member might. And I'm just not confident that you have things in place that are going to keep you out. You can get out today and be back tomorrow. And so I don't want to see that happen. So I'm going to encourage you to repeat the sex offender program, complete Thinking for Change, but also, you know, you need family support. This is hard. Being out is hard after you've been in prison as long as you have. You've got to have family support. You've got to have a whole lot of people around you who are willing to help you when things get tough. And so today my vote is going to be to deny. But like Ms. Renata says, keep working and reapply again when you're eligible, and you may get a different result. But today my vote is to deny. Good luck to you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Wilson, my vote is the same, but for different reasons. First of all, we have expressed opposition from the District Attorney's Office in the 18th JDC. You have law enforcement opposition, and which is more important, your static 99 is a +2. And you have a moderate needs on your Tiger score. In the lack of education, I think you're a risk to public safety. You've been convicted twice for sexual abuse on females, and you haven't received the education that you need to eliminate that as a possibility in the future. So based on a static 99, which is +2, and a moderate needs assessment, I'm going to deny your request for early release. You have received 3 votes to deny your request. Your request has been denied. You have a good day.
You know, his full-time date is 2041. And it's quite remarkable the way that these crimes are handled. Someone commits a crime like this, where you do this to a woman and they take it quite lightly, the court system. What did he get? 8 years, 7 years? Where he then gets out and then does it again. And I just don't understand how the legislator thinks that it's just not a big deal. It's mind-boggling to me. And I know the laws are constantly changing and the legislation is constantly changing. And we have seen people get life sentences. We've seen people get slap on the wrist, and there's a lot of different circumstances that go into it. Sometimes you just have a cowardly DA. Sometimes you have uncooperating victims. There's a lot of things. I get that. But the idea that you can spend more time locked up for purse snatching or for distribution or for possession than you can for altering the life of someone and really making generational changes because of your complete selfishness. And so they let him out. He immediately does it again. He spends all this time in prison. I think that he's only eligible for parole because of Act 122, which was legislation that was passed which was lobbied hard by the Parole Project and passed. It was like a bipartisan, almost like, everyone voted on it. And what it does is that it allows anyone who has served more than 20 years of their sentence and above the age of 40 to be eligible for parole. Now that is, I think, a good piece of legislation if it's targeted around someone who's serving a life sentence but has never harmed anyone, right? They had 3 strikes in the 90s for possession, and now they're spending life in prison. But for someone who is clearly a risk to society, as Mr. Richet laid out the reasons why he is against this parole, then it is when you think about those facts and you think about that all of these that you had the majority of politicians that are voted into office that just sign this document, Act 122, which should have clearly had clauses that would block certain offenders from qualifying under the umbrella of Act 122. And they initially were in there, no violent offenders and no sex offenders, but it was amended to allow that. Why? I don't know. But that idea that Act 122 was signed and that it's creating all of this risk to citizens, not to mention all of the pain for all of the parole hearings that we continue to see, where the families have signed deals with the state where they believe that they were signing a deal so that they wouldn't have to deal with their monster, so to speak. And now they have to. And it's just mind-boggling. It's like when you see it as clear as day how this has happened and how all of these politicians signed this bill into existence with complete disregard for the safety and their feelings of the constituency. It's insane. I think it's nothing short of insane, criminal, if anything. It's just when you understand it, when you see it as clear as day, it's just, how is it possible? But follow the money. I mean, a lot of it has to do with moving older inmates out of prisons, which are, many of them are publicly traded. It's moving the dollars around. Really, you put often the dollars are moving from one, like when it's the parole project, there's moving to the parole project. But it's, thank goodness the parole is denied. Someone like this cannot be in society. You can't have a violent crime like this and twice that you're caught. How can you risk doing it to someone else? You just can't. You can't do that. Anyways, not that, his interview, I don't know if it's an IQ thing. They should definitely, sometimes they have IQ tests, sometimes they don't. But if you probably should start doing that so you can at least understand on what context you're dealing with. If someone is intellectually unable to digest information in a classroom setting and repeat it, at least you would understand that that's the cause versus maybe just not caring. But even then, I don't think it makes a difference, right? I mean, this is a second-time offender. But yeah, thank you, Richard, for this info. And with that, move on.